Bristol, England, is a city of quiet streets, familiar faces, and the ordinary routines of daily life. On the evening of the 19th February 2015, 16-year-old Becky Watts walked the same paths she had walked countless times, to school, to a friend's house, to a part-time job. To everyone around her, she was just another bright, ordinary teenager.
It's really hot anyway because of the microwave.
Full of promise and laughter, her future unwritten and safe. Her family didn't suspect that danger was lurking in the shadows. Her stepbrother, Nathan Matthews, and his girlfriend, Shauna Hoare, lived just a few blocks away, seemingly part of the same social sphere, invisible threats blending into the normal fabric of life. The streets she crossed, the neighbors who waved, the familiar homes she passed, all were ordinary, predictable, safe. But safety is fragile. One moment Becky was a carefree girl with friends and homework, the next she would vanish without a trace. What should have been another normal evening turned into the beginning of a nightmare. By the time the alarms were raised, the city would learn that nothing about that night was ordinary. The community, shocked and searching, would soon uncover the chilling reality that a teenage girl had been abducted, murdered, and dismembered, and that the people she trusted were hiding a horrifying secret.
Hey, buddy. Thanks very much. The reason I've come here is to make an arrest of yourself, okay? And what I'm going to do is explain everything here now, okay?
Just put your hands like that for me, alright?
And yet, it was a single, small mistake by the killer that would bring police to the truth. A mistake that would unravel the web of deception and expose the gruesome reality behind the smiles that had once seemed harmless. Before the horror of that night, Becky Watts lived a life that seemed ordinary yet full of promise. She was 16, the youngest of her family, and adored by her parents, Thomas and Ann Watts, who worked tirelessly to provide a stable, loving home. She attended school diligently, kept up with her studies, and spent her free time at a part-time job and with her friends, laughing, planning, and dreaming of the future. Life in Bristol was familiar and predictable. The streets Becky walked were lined with modest homes, neighbors waved from their front porches, and children played in quiet cul-de-sacs. To the community, it was a safe city, ordinary routines, and familiar faces, creating a comforting, almost sleepy rhythm. Becky's world was part of that rhythm: weekend outings, evenings spent with friends, and the simple joys of adolescence. She had a circle of friends who remembered her quick smile, her laughter that could fill a room, and the way she brought warmth to even the dullest days. Everyone assumed life was just beginning for her, unaware that lurking close by, two people she knew, her stepbrother, Nathan Matthews, and his girlfriend, Shauna Hoare, harbored intentions that would shatter everything. On 19 February 2015, Becky followed her usual route after school, passing the same street corners, the same familiar homes, and greeting the same neighbors she had known for years. She was wearing a casual jacket, jeans, and trainers, a typical teenager, indistinguishable from anyone else walking the same roads. The city, the streets, the homes, all seemed safe, ordinary, predictable. Yet beneath this calm, danger quietly gathered. Nathan and Shauna, part of her immediate social environment, waited silently, blending seamlessly into the ordinary fabric of the neighborhood. Their plans, hidden behind smiles and casual greetings, were unfolding without anyone noticing. For Becky, this world, her world, was about to change irrevocably. Friends and family would later recall small details that, at the time, seemed insignificant: a late return home, a missed phone call, a fleeting sense of unease. None of it hinted at the magnitude of the threat that was already present. Everything about Becky's life, her routines, her security, her trust, was ordinary, yet fragile. In the quiet of Bristol that evening, Becky's laughter echoed down the streets, unaware that it was one of her last moments in a world she thought she knew. Within hours, that ordinary life would vanish, replaced by fear, grief, and an investigation that would shock the entire city. She didn't know that Nathan Matthews, her stepbrother, and his girlfriend, Shauna Hoare, had been waiting to enact a plan that would forever shatter her world. Becky's disappearance began subtly. When she failed to return home that evening, her parents first assumed she had been delayed, a late bus, a detour to a friend's house. But as hours passed, concern turned to fear. Messages went unanswered, calls unreturned, and the night stretched longer than any ordinary teenager's evening should. Unbeknownst to her family, Becky had been abducted by Matthews and Hoare, taken to a location they had chosen with chilling calculation. Investigators later revealed that Matthews had lured Becky under the guise of a routine errand, exploiting the trust inherent in family relationships. Shauna Hoare assisted, providing support and concealment, enabling Matthews to carry out a plan that was horrifying in its precision. The crime itself was brutal. Becky was suffocated, a method that left few external signs, and after her death, her body was dismembered and concealed in containers, then placed in a neighbor's shed, hidden from view. Matthews' attempt to erase the evidence was meticulous, yet flawed, a detail that would later become the crucial mistake leading police to the body. In the hours following her disappearance, the community rallied, unaware of the horrors that had taken place. Friends, classmates, and neighbors began searching, reporting sightings, and sharing messages online. The police were notified, and an investigation quickly began under the Avon and Somerset police. While the public feared the worst, Matthews and Hoare maintained a fade of normalcy, pretending Becky had simply gone missing. The dismemberment of Becky's body was not just a physical act, it was a psychological statement, a display of control and calculation. The meticulous concealment, however, could not hide one crucial error. Matthews inadvertently left traces that would eventually lead detectives to the truth. Even as the body remained hidden, subtle evidence began to emerge. Digital footprints, inconsistencies in Matthews and Hoare's statements, and the absence of Becky from her usual haunts created the framework for investigators to piece together the crime. Friends and family recounted her last known movements, small details that initially seemed irrelevant, a missed call, a paused conversation, a step in the wrong direction, but which, under scrutiny, revealed the timeline of abduction and murder. The night that began with normal routines ended in irrevocable tragedy. A teenager, full of life and promise, had been murdered by people she trusted, and the community's perception of safety had been shattered. But it was a single mistake by Matthews, combined with meticulous police work, that would soon unravel the truth. As the hours passed after Becky Watts's disappearance, Avon and Somerset police launched an all-out investigation. Officers began by canvassing the neighborhood, interviewing friends, classmates, and family members to reconstruct Becky's last known movements. Every detail mattered: the streets she walked, the shops she passed, the bus she might have taken. Even small inconsistencies in witness statements were noted and cross-checked. Social media quickly became a tool in the investigation. The Find Becky campaign spread across platforms, amplifying appeals for information. Friends and strangers shared sightings, photos, and theories, creating a digital net for any clue. While the public searched, police combed through physical evidence, CCTV footage from buses, stores, and streets, confirming Becky's last movements before vanishing. Nathan Matthews and Shauna Hoare initially maintained normal appearances. To outsiders, life seemed unchanged, but investigators observed small behavioral clues, contradictory statements, nervous habits, and gaps in alibis. Detectives began to focus on Matthews as a prime suspect due to his proximity, relationship to Becky, and inconsistent explanations. Hoare was also interviewed repeatedly, her involvement gradually surfacing through her own statements and digital evidence. Forensic teams examined evidence at Matthews' residence and in the surrounding area. While no body had yet been discovered, trace materials, fibers, and digital footprints hinted at something more sinister. Police meticulously mapped all movements, recreating timelines to identify inconsistencies that could lead to the truth. Days into the investigation, the community was gripped by fear and urgency. Schools, neighbors, and local organizations joined in search parties, their efforts underscored by police coordination. The investigation was now high profile, drawing national media attention. Public pressure mounted, but the breakthrough remained elusive until Matthews made a crucial mistake. That mistake, minor in his mind but monumental in impact, led officers to the location where Becky's body had been hidden. Forensic teams confirmed that the containers in the shed held the remains of the teenager. Every piece of the puzzle began to fit together: timeline, digital records, witness statements, and physical evidence converged to reveal the horrifying truth. During interrogations, Matthews initially attempted to downplay his involvement, but the mounting evidence and detailed questioning left him little room to maneuver. Hoare, caught between loyalty and fear, eventually confessed to her role in helping conceal the crime, further solidifying the case. Police now had a complete picture of the sequence: abduction, murder, dismemberment, and attempted concealment.
To someone.
I don't want to read this out in full again, Nathan, but what I wanted to do was get some more detail from you about things that you've said in it. So perhaps if I could pull out some things from what you've told us and ask you to expand on it, tell us a bit more.
The investigation had already uncovered the horrifying reality of Becky Watts's murder, but the turning point came when Nathan Matthews made a critical mistake, one that would unravel the entire plan to hide his crime. In an attempt to conceal the body, he had left digital traces and minor physical clues that police had meticulously tracked. These seemingly insignificant errors allowed investigators to locate the shed where Becky's remains were hidden, exposing the gruesome truth. When officers discovered the containers holding Becky's dismembered body on 4 March 2015, the case shifted from a missing person to a confirmed homicide. Every detail, from Matthews' inconsistent statements to Hoare's assistance in hiding the remains, was now in the public eye. Police had proof of the sequence: abduction, murder, dismemberment, and concealment. This moment was both the twist and the breakthrough the community had been waiting for. In the courtroom, Matthews' careful plan began to unravel. Prosecutors presented a timeline of abduction and murder, bolstered by digital evidence, witness statements, and forensic confirmation of the dismemberment. Matthews attempted to claim ignorance or minimal involvement, but the combined weight of the evidence made his denials implausible.
Just put your hands like that for me, alright?
Shauna Hoare, meanwhile, faced her own reckoning. Her role in helping Matthews conceal the body was undeniable. During interrogation and court testimony, she admitted to assisting Matthews, providing insight into the premeditation and the psychology behind their actions. The public learned not just of the murder, but of the complicity, manipulation, and moral disengagement that allowed the crime to be carried out. The courtroom twist did not just reveal the perpetrators, it revealed the meticulousness of Matthew's planning and the avoidable nature of his mistakes. If not for small errors in concealing evidence, police may have faced a far more challenging investigation. But human error is inevitable, even for those who commit the most calculated crimes. Expert witnesses described the precision of the concealment alongside the flaws that led to discovery. It was a chilling reminder of how even meticulous plans can falter when exposed to diligent investigation. Every piece of evidence, every misstep, and every confession converged to tell a story that was both horrifying and complete. To truly understand the murder of Becky Watts, we must examine the minds behind it, Nathan Matthews and Shauna Hoare, and the psychological forces that drove them to commit acts so chilling they defy ordinary comprehension. Nathan Matthews, Becky's stepbrother, had carefully planned the abduction and subsequent concealment of her body. Experts later described him as calculating, manipulative, and socially adept, able to maintain a fade of normalcy while committing a crime of extreme violence. His decision-making reflects patterns commonly associated with psychopathy, lack of empathy, superficial charm, and an absence of remorse until confronted with overwhelming evidence. Shauna Hoare, Matthew's girlfriend, played a critical role in helping conceal the crime. Psychological analysis of accomplices in similar cases often highlights moral disengagement where individuals justify or minimize their role in wrongdoing. Hoare's behavior, assisting in dismemberment and hiding the body, demonstrates a combination of loyalty, fear, and compliance, aligning with profiles of secondary actors in violent crimes. Their actions did not occur spontaneously. Matthew's meticulous planning, Hoare's compliance, and their combined decision-making reveal a chilling intersection of premeditation and human error. The same mistakes that ultimately exposed the crime, leaving digital traces, overlooking key forensic details, illustrate how even careful criminal minds can falter. Experts in forensic psychology note that adolescent victims are particularly vulnerable to those within their social or familial networks. Trust and familiarity are exploited, creating a sense of normalcy that masks impending danger. Matthews and Hoare's familiarity with Becky allowed them to manipulate perceptions, while their personalities enabled them to compartmentalize guilt and rationalize their actions. Behavioral analysis of Matthews shows a pattern of control and obsession, traits often observed in violent offenders who target close acquaintances. His planning indicates a methodical approach to crime, yet the human factor, overconfidence, reliance on secrecy, created the cracks that investigators exploited. In contrast, Hoare's psychology underscores the dangers of complicity and social influence. Her choices were shaped by her relationship with Matthews, a dynamic that forensic psychologists describe as coercive influence combined with rationalized moral detachment. Though her role was secondary, it was essential to the execution of the crime, highlighting how criminal acts often require multiple minds to converge on violence. As viewers reflect on the crime, understanding the psychology behind the act reframes the story. It is not simply the events themselves, but the inner workings of the perpetrators, their obsessions, rationalizations, and lapses that illuminate how an ordinary teenager could be targeted, abducted, and murdered by those she trusted. The case of Becky Watts left Bristol and the United Kingdom reeling. In court, Nathan Matthews was convicted of murder, along with charges related to the concealment and dismemberment of Becky's body. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 33 years, ensuring he will spend decades behind bars. Shauna Hoare, Matthews' girlfriend and accomplice in concealing the body, pleaded guilty to manslaughter and associated offenses. She received a 17-year sentence with the possibility of early release on license halfway through her term. Hoare's sentence sparked public debate over the distinction between primary and secondary responsibility and whether moral culpability should be weighed against active participation in concealment. The Watts family, friends, and community were left to grapple with the enormity of the loss. Public memorials, vigils, and the viral Find Becky campaign became symbols of collective grief, a reminder of a life stolen far too soon. Families shared memories of Becky's laughter, her bright smile, and the normal teenage routines that made her so relatable to the community. The investigation and trials also had broader societal impact. Discussions emerged about teen safety, online awareness, and the potential dangers within family or social networks. The case highlighted how trust can be manipulated and how ordinary surroundings, familiar streets, neighbors, and friends can hide extraordinary danger. Even after convictions, unanswered questions linger. How could someone so ordinary, trusted by family and community, become the target of such calculated violence? What early warning signs, if any, could have prevented this tragedy? And how much of the responsibility lies in recognizing manipulative patterns before a life is destroyed? For viewers, the haunting takeaway is not only the brutality of the crime, but the fragility of safety, trust, and ordinary life. Becky's story forces reflection. The ordinary can conceal the extraordinary in its darkest form, and small lapses in judgment, vigilance, or attention can have irreversible consequences. The case is officially closed. But one question remains: how could a teenage girl living an ordinary life be ensnared in such a calculated crime? And could it have been prevented? If this story moved you, give it a like, share it to raise awareness, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to follow more real-life true crime cases.